Chugga, 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 choo, choo, Battle Bowl 2024. Everybody's talking, but nobody's talking about the Cheap Heat Heroes. Welcome again to the Exploding Barbed Wire DeathCast, brought to you by the Cheap Heat Heroes. And so what's the catch? We got a loaded panel today, some returning faces. First and foremost, we have the man, Rollins. What's up, Rollins?
How's it going, brother?
We got the Wolfman with the broken PC. What's up, my guy?
What's going on, fellas?
Yeah, we got the one, the man, the myth, the legend, C-Boss. I love that Bullet Club shirt.
Yeah.
And returning from a mandated suspension, we have the man, ATX Caleb, brother. Nice to have you back on.
I'm back and I'm better than ever, boys. Let's get into this.
All right. So as a side note, I'm going to address that the Vincent Kennedy McMahon lawsuit documents were open to the public this afternoon. And in spite of the necessity for it to be discussed, we're going to be saving it for a standalone podcast here on the channel within the next week. Let's get into the core topics. So in an unprecedented move, the WWE has found a new buyer for the network rights for Monday Night Raw. Starting in January of 2025, Netflix will have the exclusive streaming rights to Monday Night Raw, meaning that you have to be enrolled in the subscription service in order to view this product and Raw associated programming. But according to Netflix and WWE, that also doesn't rule out moving other WWE programming and PLEs to the streaming service. I mean, Rollins, what does this move mean for the Fed?
I was genuinely shocked by this. I don't know about the rest of you, but I didn't hear any reports about Monday Night Raw possibly going to Netflix. I heard Amazon Prime as a possible destination, but, I had been saying it for weeks, maybe even months on this show, that I was so sure that once the Peacock deal was up, WWE was going to move all their programming to Disney and ESPN because of their partnership with the UFC and how they're under one brand in TKO and stuff. But yeah, and this is wacky to me, but it's the way of the future.
Yeah.
Indeed it is. Yeah.
AEW is
Caleb.
headed that direction here soon from the rumor mill. So as much as some people may hate streaming at this point, it's the way the world's going. Everything's streaming. You have NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube. We're going to have WWE on Netflix. We're supposedly going to have AEW on Max. At this point, if you don't have streaming services, you're really going to be missing out on more stuff than you'll be taking in.
Yeah. Wolf, what do you think about this one, man?
Well, you could look at it so many different angles. One thing that kind of jumped at me, which I found interesting, was WWE wasn't really settled on the years. It was almost like Netflix demanded a 10-year deal with them. It's a $500 million evaluation. I don't know what WWE is thinking like 10 years from now, but they do have an opt-out clause, Netflix. So technically, if the partnership doesn't go to Netflix's standards or to their they could technically end the partnership after the 5-year mark. But there's, like I said, there's so many different angles to look at this. Yeah, the streaming, wrestling on streaming platform kind of sets a precedence, right? This is good news for AEW, I think. AEW is going to be the only wrestling show on network television. Major. Well, that's not really true because you got SmackDown, but you know what I'm saying. So like the Warner Brothers Discovery possible partnership with WWE is off the table, so you don't have to worry about that. And it's a precedence for AEW to make more money, man. C-Boss, what you got?
So this is a very interesting move, and it's actually going to affect the WWE WWE as a whole going forward, because as we got word today, the WWE Network, which is the streaming service for all the PLEs and whatnot outside of the US, outside of where Peacock runs, will be shutting down by the end of 2024. And as for Peacock, well, WWE will be moving off of Peacock by the end of 2026. We just learned that today. So everything will probably end up moving to Netflix. That includes Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and all the PLEs.
Well,
And
C-Boss, something that struck me as interesting about the move to a streaming service is the global accessibility. And not to you had mentioned Peacock. WWE also owns the licensing and media rights for ECW and WCW as well, which
Yep.
you have full access to on Peacock streaming service. To migrate all of that over to Netflix as well is a real opportunity for anyone that missed out on those things, say due to living in maybe Vietnam or Brazil. The newer markets for WWE now have complete access to the entire backlog for 3 major promotions out of the 80s and 90s. So
Exactly.
yeah, so I know that they're not doing a complete migration until 2026 as announced today. But this is going to go in one of two directions. I think it was very intelligent for Netflix to open up the idea of a 5-year opt-out in the event that it doesn't fall flat. But I really can't imagine a reality where it does. For any WWE mega fan that doesn't subscribe to the service, now they're forced to have to view the products. And that's going to double down on it if the entire brand moves over to a streaming service within the next year or so.
And I'll finally be able to watch NXT weekly as I did before, because I don't have cable
It's
and
cheaper
I
than
don't
cable.
want cable. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
And the good thing is, like, for those who don't have cable, like you, C-Boss, if you sign up for Netflix, then you can just go and watch Monday Night Raw anytime you want. Like, if you missed this week's episode or whatever, you can just go back and watch it on like a Tuesday afternoon or something.
Yeah, I could. The thing is, the only brand of WWE I want to watch week in, week out is NXT.
Sure,
Well,
but you get my point
Rollins,
though.
Yes.
on that topic, Rollins, I think it was Nick Khan. He did an interview this week, and he said something about, the possibility of moving Raw from Monday night to another day.
That is absolutely true. I think Triple H also did an interview sometime last year saying that they were looking into moving it to another day. I don't remember what day.
I believe it
Yeah,
was
I don't think
Tuesday.
they
It was
said.
actually Tuesday. I heard something about WWE moving programming to Tuesday nights.
Well, then what would they do with NXT?
Wednesday. The Wednesday
Wednesday.
Wars are big, baby.
They would throw it right back to AEW. Oh.
Now that's a crushing blow for AEW because now you have people forced to buy into the network cable packages in order to view its product in America, as opposed to having access to a multinational streaming service that they could just log right into and get it for $15-16 a month. That kind of changes the perspective on how this deal could go. Now, if we were to wrap AEW into this conversation, say they drop a streaming service on us next month, and Khan announces that they're migrating their live shows over to Max, do you think that would be necessarily competitive with WWE entering Netflix?
If they do throw that NXT to Wednesday thing, then yes, I do believe that it would be a move to compete to the people that don't want to buy cable, that want to watch their television and movies through streaming services like Max, like Peacock, like Netflix, like Hulu.
Here's the thing, though: is Max available internationally? I honestly don't know. I'm asking.
It is.
It is.
Okay. Oh well, then yeah, that I agree with you, boss. Yeah, I think that's got to be coming soon because AEW's deal is ending the end of this year. Their current deal.
Yeah,
so.
It's September. I would say it's probably safe to assume that with WWE being removed from the picture, and this is just a guess, we have no evidence to substantiate this statement, but it's probably safe to bet that AEW's home is going to continue to be TBS and TNT moving forward, especially, with the Khans being so invested into Warner Brothers Discovery. And Max would really be a great place for that. I mean, we're talking about 47 different networks all consolidated under one banner. It could potentially put a lot of new eyes on the product as well. Netflix is just the OG of streaming services.
Do you think that with WWE seemingly moving probably SmackDown off of Fox and all that, do you think there's a chance Tony Khan could leverage that and try and get AEW, Dynamite, or Collision, whatever, onto one of those mainstream channels.
I highly doubt it. I think everything's pointing towards more of the streaming. And like C-Boss was saying, and like you were saying, everything being on streaming just makes it so much more accessible. And it also makes it more marketable, because if you can have a random person opening up Max and seeing AEW for the first time, what's going to stop them from clicking on it at that point?
Yeah, I mean, it's in with the service. They have the freedom to view it at their leisure. And that's the accessibility of streaming services. Now, I do want, before we move on to the next topic, a very good point was made about the AEW migrating over to Fox or potentially USA. Unfortunately, it's written into WWE contracts that they wouldn't be able to pick up wrestling programming outside of WWE for years following. That's a
Isn't that
standard.
something?
That's a WWE move. Not to mention that Fox has been pretty open about how they feel as though WWE hasn't been completely successful on Fox's networking. So I don't think that they would really take the dive on something that has been less successful. So sticking with WWE, this Saturday marks the 37th Royal Rumble to take place at the Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. The tried and true tradition of battle royales is a mainstay for all pro wrestling fans alike. WWE is not my flavor of choice, but I tend to tune into these every year. Most wrestling fans do. Lots of speculation for returns in both the women and men's divisions, notably Trinity, Fatu, or Naomi, and the Undertaker for the men. You know, we're gonna go over some predictions today. I'll wrap it up, but who's got who? Rollins, who do you got?
So for the men's Royal Rumble, I know the overwhelming thought is either CM Punk or Cody Rhodes. Nuh-uh. I am going with the Ring General, the current Intercontinental Champion, Gunther. I think we are actually going to go through with those plans of Gunther versus Seth Rollins. It will be Dwayne The Rock Johnson versus Roman Reigns, and it will be Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk at WrestleMania.
So I guess another year of Roman.
Another year of Roman, man.
Oh, good Lord.
I have made it very clear, if Roman Reigns does in fact retain at WrestleMania, my eyes will be off of WWE television for the foreseeable future. Because I don't want to see it.
Wait a minute. You said that you were boycotting WWE after Logan Paul won the United States Championship. How long did that last, buddy?
All right, leave C-Boss alone.
I've actually only watched 2 shows of WWE since Logan Paul won the U.S. title: Survivor Series and a Raw that I went to.
C-Boss, you lasted a full year longer than me. I have not been able to get the WWE bug ever since Roman retained last year over Cody Rhodes, and the fact that we are going to have yet another WrestleMania, very likely from the scheduled plans, without Cody finishing his story is,
very sad. Dustin Rhodes will probably finish the Rhodes family story before Cody does.
Well, I mean, like, let's go one layer deeper. We have Cody Rhodes on the cover of 2K24. Are we steering towards an unfinished story mode? Are they releasing the game?
Yes, they'll have the story mode in the game, and you'll be unable to finish it at all points because WWE hates pleasing their fans.
Yeah,
it's like you're going for the WWE title. Unfortunately, you're not allowed to obtain it. I'm sorry.
So I think we actually have a better chance of seeing the ghost of Dusty Rhodes winning the Royal Rumble this year than seeing them put over Cody. Wolf, I know you're not always tuning into WWE, but I remember in our conversations that you always tuned into the Rebel. Are you up to speed with what's going on? Do you have any predictions for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think I agree with Rollins, and I have for a while. I do think that Gunther's going to win the Rumble. But I mean, they really drilled home, from what I saw last week on Raw when I did tune in, the double like the back-to-back Royal Rumble winners, and like how if Cody was to win, it would put him in company with Steve Austin and Hulk Hogan. But I I think he'll probably come up short, and I do think Gunther's going to win. For the women's, I don't think Rollins said his pick yet. So.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
Rollins, you never gave us your women's pick.
Oh, well, for that, I'm going with the man, Becky Lynch.
That's so. I'll bust into this. Or would Wolf you like to pick it back up here?
No, go for it. I don't have a pick for the women, so I'll let you go.
All right. So for the men, the plans I hate. I'm picking Cody. I don't care. I want Cody to get it again. I want the back-to-back thing to be pushed. If it does end up being the ring general Gunther, I would love that. If it is CM Punk, good Lord, I don't tune into very much WWE, but if it is Punk, I don't know if I'd ever watch the programming again. I mean, in all seriousness, them keeping a title on Roman for as long as they have has made their view go. My view of them go way down. If Punk wins the Rumble immediately as he's getting back, yeah, no. And on the women's side, I will call a return. AJ Lee is going to return. The much better side of Pepsi Phil will come back. The better wrestler of the two as well, may I add. But that's a
Roxanne
whole
Perez's mom.
I think we'll get a Roxanne Perez AJ Lee team up in the Rumble. That's my hot take there.
I would fucking
spicy.
love that because I'm a huge fan of Roxanne Perez.
She needs to be on. Well, she's facing Lyra Valkyria for the NXT Women's Championship at Vengeance Day, but Roxanne Perez needs to be on the main roster now.
I think Roxanne will get called up after that Vengeance Day match.
I agree.
My winner for the Women's Royal Rumble is the man Becky Lynch. There is really not.
It's either going to be Becky or Bailey.
That's my
pick.
My pick for the women is Bailey.
Yeah.
And I do have AJ Lee being a surprise return. On the men's side of things, I'm going with the best in the world, CM Punk.
Ugh.
And for a surprise return on the men's side, I'm going with the man with the best hips, the man with the sexiest hips in all of wrestling, Big E Langston.
That'd be great.
Whoa, that would be incredible.
It would actually move me to tears because if you don't know anything about me, I am a huge fan of the New Day. I have been since they formed. I love Kofi Kingston. I love Xavier Woods. I love Big E. And they're one of the best. They're one of the best tag teams and trios and factions in all of professional wrestling. And I love all three of them. I love their work.
You could even do a thing where Big E, you know how Kofi likes to do his Rumble spots?
Yeah.
You could have Big E like under the ring or something, just slide out when Kofi's about to be eliminated.
No, I actually had it written in that while Kofi's doing his Kofi spot, before someone eliminates him, Big E's music hit, he comes rushing to the ring and pushes Kofi back in and then gets in himself.
Oh, that's good too.
See, boss, I do think it's interesting that Damian Priest is in the Royal Rumble because he has the Money in the Bank contract still. He has
Mr. Money in the Bank has gone into the... Seth was in the 2015 Rumble when he was Mr. Money in the Bank.
No,
Money in the Bank holders are the most idiotic people in the world.
They're holding a blank suitcase. Of course they are.
Yeah. I'm still holding on that damn switcheroo storyline that JD McDonough switched the cases and the real one and the real contract is hidden somewhere with Finn.
God, good luck for them to push Finn Balor again. There's no guarantees that Finn Balor is going to even remain with WWE throughout the year. Yeah. His contract is up this year. We could save that we do the contract pod once a month at least. So we could save that for that. But guys, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I actually, for once, C-Boss and I are completely on the same page. I got Bailey for the women. She's been the front face. She's back to being the front face of Damage Control, and it would be Clout. I am so sick of them finding new ways to put a microphone in Becky Lynch's hand for her to bomb every promo that she's had cut in the past 6 months. I'm over it. It's done. She's not that good. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys.
I mean, I get it. There's better women on the mic, but there's also worse women on the mic.
Yeah,
Nia Jax.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
God,
guys! What is Ben Fowler doing in the Impact Zone? Oh my goodness!
Oh, Prince Devitt, dude.
No. He's in Impact, he's gonna go by King Devitt.
Well, I also got to throw it out there. Unfortunately, dude, and I could hear. I know Dreezy's gonna listen to this pod tomorrow, and he's gonna tell me, oh, you're gonna blow it again with CM Punk. There is no reality. There's no stipulate. The only thing Punk wants to do is cement his legacy. There was so much clout and attention to him coming back. There's no conceivable reality in my mind as a stupid mark that he didn't have headlining WrestleMania written as a stipulant into what it might not be this year, but there's still a lot of buzz behind his presence. It's pulling numbers. He's back to crushing in both AEW and WWE t-shirt sales. Probably in AEW because they're cheaper and they look the same, but I'm just saying. So
Names in business, but
Stop me when I'm telling lies.
So
telling lies.
He had no leverage.
What I'm not sure of is this show only has 4 matches on it. You have the men's Royal Rumble. You have the Fatal 4-Way, Roman Reigns versus LA Knight versus AJ Styles.
If the WWE really want to do this Rock and Roman thing, they'd have him drop the title in this Fatal 4-Way.
Oh, absolutely agree.
Okay, C-Boss, you know how usually we get WrestleMania feuds out of the Royal Rumble? That's where we got Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul and all that.
We got that after. We got that. No, that feud actually started at the after Seth was screwed at the Chamber.
No, it didn't. The feud started at the Royal Rumble because we all forgot that Logan Paul was still in the match.
Eliminated Seth, but the promo battles didn't start until after Seth was screwed at Elimination Chamber. So that really wasn't a feud started at the Rumble. It was a feud started at the Chamber.
Yeah.
Okay, but I see it a little bit differently. But nonetheless, we ended up getting that feud, and we ended up getting that match at Mania. I think even though they're both in the Fatal 4-Way, I think this is going to turn into a WrestleMania program. AJ Styles versus LA Knight.
LA Knight's going after the US title. He's gonna take that, because if they don't strap up LA Knight with any kind of title at WrestleMania, the fans will be outside of WWE's corporate offices with pitchforks and torches. They've waited long enough.
Hold on.
Well, they're already going to be out. They're already going to be outside of the corporate offices because of Vince, but that's a whole other.
Me too. I mean, I think we're gonna see a little in the media if the internet hate machine is doing its job correctly and exposing what's going on with that. But we did dedicate to saving that for a one-off pod. Boys, I'm gonna derail this conversation. We're gonna have a follow-up the Royal Rumble next week. Let's move on to the next topic. The end of this month marks the final track for one of the most celebrated and decorated champions in New Japan history, Kazuchika Okada. Okada has been a mainstay in New Japan for the greater part of 14 years on and off, but the real question is, where is he headed? Reports from the mainstream wrestling media indicated that he's been sought by the likes of AEW and TNA, where he's already done a very short and forgettable stint, and also the Fed. Though rumors surfaced this week that the Rainmaker had accepted a short-term NXT deal, those have been squashed and labeled as such, just rumors. Where the hell is Okada going? Where?
I mean, to me, the most logical place is.
Oh, the most logical place. Mike craps out. Yeah, he has us at a moment of suspense. Caleb, you still with us?
Okada's headed to AEW. I mean, I really see no other way of things happening. As much as the media wants it to seem like he is WWE bound, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, this is a guy who dresses up in the Young Bucks gear whenever he comes to AEW, and you're going to tell me that guy is not going to come and join the family that's being put together between, we got Osprey coming in. We have Omega on the shelf for a while, so there's got to be somebody to fill Omega's shoes. We have almost every big name New Japan guy that has left come to AEW over the last 3 years. I don't see that changing now. I mean, when was since AEW started, who can tell me the last WWE guy that WWE New Japan edition?
So
Women's
this is
division.
since AEW.
The women's.
It's only been in the women's division.
Yep.
Yep.
Because
We lost
all the
Asuka, Io Sky. I mean, all of those since AEW have signed contracts with WWE, but no men.
right,
Yep.
the only men that came
Bronson
from New
Reed.
Japan. Oh yeah, Bronson Reed.
I forgot he was in. Oh
New
wow.
Japan and TNA.
Yes. So I mean,
but like all the major men's New Japan signings to WWE, Shinsuke Nakamura, Ricochet, the Viking Raiders, all happened pre AEW.
yep. So I have to assume AEW is the end goal for Okada. I would not be surprised at all to see him do a similar thing to Osprey and appear in TNA for a slight stint. And it wouldn't bother me either, because in all honesty, TNA is very much back, and Okada
bangers.
going there and dominating.
Did you
unlike
see
he did in
Did you
his
see
first
Alexander? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you see Alexander Osprey?
That match was incredible.
run. Banger.
If it
Banger.
weren't for bad weather, I would have gotten over to Josh's to see it.
Yeah.
Or Rollins.
Osprey, Speedball Mike Bailey was fantastic
yeah.
as well. So
Yeah.
the note that it's Osprey and it's going to be great. Rollins, where's Okada headed?
I think he's going to AEW. It makes too much sense. He already headlined a pay-per-view with Bryan Danielson, Forbidden Door. We've seen, I think it's Claudio. He's been hitting a couple rainmakers, kind of teasing that. So it makes too much sense for Okada to not come to AEW. If you get what I mean there. I mean, think about some of the matches we could get if Okada were to actually come to AEW. Some of the matches we could get would be fantastic to watch. Like Okada versus Jay White. I know they probably did it in New Japan, but
Wrestle Kingdom 17 main event.
But C-Boss, in an AEW ring, think about what that match would look like.
Worse than Wrestle Kingdom 17.
Worse than Wrestle Kingdom 17.
I'm sorry. I'm going to chime in here. Rollins,
you get what I'm trying to say. Though.
I 100% see what you're trying to say. But AEW has a history of attempting to emulate things that happen in Japan, and they just fall a little bit short. To digress, Omega Osprey too. Nothing beat Wrestle Kingdom's Omega Osprey match. That is still that's my match of the year this year too. So
that was my match of the year for 2023. My match of the year for this year so far has been Osprey, Finlay, Moxley.
And Mox, yeah. We're gonna move on to Wolf.
Sure. I agree with the panel. I think who's gonna outbid Okada more than Tony Khan? I don't see a world where Tony Khan doesn't get Okada. He's going to spend as much money as he has to get him. With that being said, I could see WWE settling for Tama Tonga. Dude lives in Florida. I think that would be probably a good fit for him. He's got family ties with WWE. But yeah, no, I agree 100% with Caleb Rollins. Okada's going to AEW.
I'm gonna chime in on that statement as well, being that Seaboss and I are the residential New Japan fans here. Caleb as well. So Caleb, you could bounce off of this. In spite of Tonga having ties and family in WWE, he also was in that faction with Machine Gun. I almost said Machine Gun Kelly, Carl Anderson and
Anderson.
Doc Gallows, the Good Brothers. You think that he might actually look at that, how that transition happened, and maybe say, I don't know if this is a good idea, because they completely dropped the ball on bringing those guys over from Japan. It almost looked like they just did it in spite of AEW, signed these guys to 2027 contracts, and they really haven't been on TV in 9 months. So
The boys have pretty much confirmed that as well. That Gallows and Anderson aren't shy about why they signed their contracts, and that's very well known at this point. And they essentially said the last time they talked about it, the only reason they went back to WWE was for the money. And they really don't care if they're on TV. They did their little screwing around for the 2 to 3 years they were gone, and now they're back. And it is kind of it's a little ridiculous that a guy like Carl Anderson is pushed to the side. I mean, that tag team is lethal. It's one of the better ones in all of WWE. And I mean, when was the last time they were frequently featured on WWE programming? I think it was like back in Halloween before Styles got hurt.
Yeah, Styles got hurt and it killed that whole entire faction.
I mean,
and then
you get hit by the Magic Killer, it's 1, 2, 3 match over for you. But I just look at what Gallows and Anderson were doing in AEW when Kenny Omega was the world champion, and you had the Young Bucks with the tag team champions, and you had Anderson and Gallows. Like, that whole group, I loved that version of the Elite because they were just straight up assholes.
Yeah, you mean the Bullet Club?
Yeah, let's put a lid on it and call it what it is. It's AEW's first attempt at the Bullet Club. And
No, it was literally the Bullet Club. It was a perfect emulation of when Kenny Omega came out and usurped the Bullet Club from AJ Styles. That was the clique. Hangman, Kenny, the Bucks.
The only thing that was missing was the GOD, Tama Tonga Loa.
And Gato.
Oh, and Gato.
So
who's still with the Bullet Club.
No, I'm talking about when Kenny was the world champion. Hangman wasn't part of the group at the time.
He defected. It was when him and Kenny broke up. So
yep, he defected to the Dark Order.
Yes. But it makes too much sense for Okada to not come to AEW because he knows he can still go over to Japan and do stuff because of the partnership between AEW and New Japan.
And he's technically already part of a faction in AEW because the Best Friends are a sub-faction of Okada's actual faction in New Japan, Chaos.
Roppongi Vice. But we'll stick with factions while we're here. Let's give each other a little more room to talk on this next subject. This one was conjured up by my man Rollins. I don't have very much to say on it because I've already seen it. We have Swerve and Hangman Page. They're facing off yet again next week in a dealer's choice match.
No, it's not the two of them facing each other.
No, they're
facing each other's opponents.
Exactly.
Okay, correct me. So they're picking each other's opponents, but seemingly, I believe it's going to be used as a tool to determine who's going to face Samoa Joe at Revolution. Simply put, still it being even in botching that segment intro, I still think that they're kind of like running this story into the ground a little bit. But Rollins, go ahead and take the wheel on this one, my friend.
So I just think this is interesting because, with it being dealer's choice where Hangman's going to choose Swerve's opponent, Swerve is going to choose Hangman's opponent, they're going to try and pick opponents that they think, will beat the other so they can get a title shot against Samoa Joe at Revolution, like you said, Shane. So in my opinion, even though Hangman beat Claudio, I wouldn't be surprised if Hangman ends up choosing Claudio because of how much of a fight Claudio gave Hangman. So Hangman might think to himself, well, if Claudio Castagnoli can do that to me, I bet he can do it to Swerve, and that might be enough to beat him. What do you think about that, C-Boss? Do you kind of agree with that about
I wasn't
Claudio?
even suspecting Claudio. I had completely thought that Hangman was gonna pull the ultimate gamer move and say, "Hey, you know that one guy in your own faction, the big dude, Brian Cage? Yeah, you're gonna have to fight him."
That's
Wolf.
not a bad idea, actually.
Wolf, who would you like to see these guys pick for each other?
It's funny because I was thinking that Swerve would pick Brian Cage, but I like T-Boss's idea, and that's kind of where I'm gonna go. I think Swerve's gonna pick Brian Cage, and I do think that Hangman is gonna pick Jon Moxley. Moxley's not really involved in a program right now. He's just kind of
He wants to
cutting
fight everyone
promos.
anywhere at any time.
That's right, and Hangman's got his history with Moxley, and I think he's gonna pick Moxley against Swerve. But there's a possibility. I don't know if it's a strong possibility, probably not at all, that Hangman could also pick Keith Lee. Just throwing it out there.
Keith Lee's going in for surgery. He's gonna be on the shelf for a
Okay.
while.
I forget it then. Moxley.
My picks are this. Swerve is gonna. I have it reversed of you, Wolf. I have Swerve picking Moxley, and I have Hangman picking Brian Cage.
Okay.
They could run back Moxley cheating during the Continental with Swerve. That still has a
But
little
doing
bit
it
of
to
heat.
Hangman.
Yeah, but
Yes.
so that does have a little bit of meat to it.
Yeah. So I didn't give my Hangman pick. I would have first to face Hangman. I think Swerve. I could see Swerve picking Danielson actually.
That was another one for me. It's like, all right, so we're gonna have Hangman's already faced two members of the BCC. Why not throw him to Danielson or throw Danielson to him?
I mean, we already did that feud for the World Championship with Hangman was.
Oh, that's freaking right. Throw him Wheeler Yuta.
No, they're not going to do that.
They're trying to push Yuta a little bit. I don't think they're gonna throw Yuta to the flyer like that.
Yeah, I do like. Even though it was my idea, I do like the idea of Claudio because again, C-Boss, you and I watched that. No,
we were late.
Yes, but I've gone back and watched that match. Like Hangman went right after Claudio before Claudio even had time to like take his jacket off, and they just had an absolute war. So I feel like Hangman could kind of show Claudio that respect and be like, okay, you know how much of a fight you brought to me? Go do that to Swerve.
Caleb,
Yes.
go ahead.
I've been contemplating what I think is going to happen here. I do think the Brian Cage angle for Swerve makes a lot of sense and could stir up some animosity within the mogul embassy. It would make a lot of sense. And I think Brian Cage needs to go his own way. In all honesty, he's too good not to be a singles guy at this point. And if they can spin that off somehow, maybe have Lance Archer pop out and start setting up that feud for Revolution as well. That might be fun. And then on the opposite end for Hangman, I've been thinking a lot, and I'm thinking maybe Swerve sides with like somebody like Roderick Strong, somebody within the Undisputed Kingdom.
Wardlow.
So
It can't be Wardlow because he's already got a match.
Yeah, I was thinking, at this point it might be Taven or Bennett because both of those guys have singles runs. It's really hard for me to go with a pick for Hangman that makes sense. Claudio would be fun, but it's something we've got before.
Yeah.
I don't want to see a repeat match. That's really, I hope they do something original with these matches and not something that we've seen before on TV. Because if it's just repeat matches, that would kind of be anticlimactic in my view.
Let me
So-
throw out one other possibility. I'm not sure who you would have him face against either Swerve or Hangman, but we've seen Dax Harwood in singles matches before, and he's been
Yep.
able to hold his own.
We went to one live, Dax Harwood versus Jay Lethal. That's when they announced the Motor City Machine Guns would be in that 6-man tag match at All Out.
So do you think Dax Harwood could be an option for either one of these guys?
He hasn't been on Dynamite lately, so it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. He's been embroiled with that whole House of Black story on Collision. That's going to have an excellent 6-man tag elimination steel cage match. I still have no clue how that's going to work. Like, when you're eliminated, do you have to then climb out of the cage? But isn't the way to win to climb out of the cage?
I don't
It
know.
doesn't make any goddamn sense.
And
We're
they're
gonna-
putting it on the same night as the Royal Rumble. Yep.
If I had a second TV, I'd be watching it.
so
Head table.
I'll throw my head in the ring, and I'm gonna go out of character. I'm gonna go outside of my character on this one because usually I go for the realistic pick. But Caleb kind of got me excited, and I kind of blew my own mind up while Rollins was wrapping his portion up. What if this was a double reveal? What if this was an opportunity to put Swerve against Will Ospreay and Hangman ending his 3-pack with Okada? How cool would that be?
Are you
my
trying
God.
to make me ruin my pants on Wednesday night, sir?
I'm just saying.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, I mean, like we're talking about like huge, two huge matches. Swerve and Ospreay together is gonna when it happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's gonna be the
I think
bang.
that would be
Crying my eyes.
That match, if we actually get that match at All In, that match will could easily be match of the year. Easily.
I mean,
I would
Any
definitely see
Osprey
it.
match is a contender for match of the year before it even starts.
Case in point, my match of the year contender, Ospreay, Moxley, Finlay.
We'll get to Ospreay a little bit later in the show.
Ospreay. Well, let's bump over to we're gonna do lightning round with 2 topics, and we're gonna talk about 2 AEW talents. We're gonna start with Jay White, sticking with AEW. Some consider him to be one of the best talents on the AEW roster, while others feel like his current run in AEW has fallen quite flat. Jay White is going to be the head of the table for our next topic, guys. Do you think that Jay's transition over from Japan has worked for AEW?
I'm gonna say no so far, because other than I didn't love his program with MJF, and so far he hasn't really gotten the big singles feud like I thought he was gonna get, other than the MJF stuff. But now he's in this Bullet Club Gold Acclaim stuff, which I get it. It's great for the fans, and the fans are eating it up. But still, Jay White can do so much better than this. There are singles feuds out there that I'm like, why are we not pulling the trigger on Jay White versus, I'm going to bring his name up again, Jay White versus Claudio Castagnoli. That's a singles feud I want to see.
Again, boil down to faction warfare. You'd have to run BCC Bullet Club Gold. I mean, I'd like to see it, but Claudio Castagnoli is the third man. He's not the leader of the BCC, so it wouldn't make sense for Jay to go after just one member of the BCC. Knowing Jay White as well as I do, he'd be going right after their leader. And who's their leader? A man he's familiar with because of the C2, Jon Moxley.
Mox isn't the leader of the BCC. As a matter of fact, I'm going to bust that part of the conversation up. It's starting to look completely clear that they're busting the BCC up. They haven't really skimped on putting these guys against each other in the past 2 months. We had Danielson, Claudio, and there's been dissonance within the faction. We have Wheeler Yuta kind of off there doing his own thing. You don't really see them together. Yeah, you don't really see them together on screen too much. And Mox just put the whole entire AEW roster on notice, including everyone in his own faction. So I wouldn't in terms of faction warfare and Jay White, Rollins, I disagree with you completely. That's all I'm gonna say. I get that people didn't have the opportunity to warm up to Jay White in American audiences, but you got to give the guy's day in court. He could hold his own. He's fantastic in the ring. He's conversational. And the Bull Club's great. They just, and you got to look at it from my perspective. They just recruited one of the more popular trios in AEW, and after that settles and people are adjusted to it, they're going straight for the kingdom, baby.
I wouldn't be surprised if this ultimately turns out to be a ruse and Bullet Club Gold just screws over the Acclaimed. And
it could happen.
At Revolution, I'm wondering if we get maybe I guess you could call it a trios title. What's the word? When you bring two belts together?
Unification match.
Yes, a unification bout. Thank you.
Well, the Bang Bang Scissors gang is not going to last forever. I feel like that's a very...
Knowing how the Bullet Club works, they're going to... Eventually, someone is going to get screwed over.
Bullet Club's for life, my friend.
And it ain't going to be the Bullet Club.
Did you guys see the... did you guys see the shirt? The Bang Bang...
the gang shirt?
It's horrible. There was no thought put into it.
It fucking is.
There was no thought put into it. So yeah,
the Happy Tree Friends shirts had more thought put into them. And I ordered one of those. I won't tell you guys which one. I'll just silently debut it on a pod.
No,
so
wait.
With that,
go ahead.
Roland.
No, go ahead.
Okay. With that being said, I don't see that. I agree with you, Rollins. I think they're going to have unification match at Revolution. But going back to the original topic, Jay White. Here's the issue. He's been solely featured on Collision. And like it or not, Collision's ratings, they're not great, man. Not everybody's seeing Jay White. Like, he needs to be on Dynamite. And I think we're taking a step into that right direction. He's been on Dynamite the last couple of weeks. So I think more exposure of Jay White to the audience is going to help with the perception of is he a success in AEW? Because the guy's got the talent. The guy's... Granted, the MJF storyline, that was more of a catalyst for the MJF Adam Cole stuff. I wasn't a fan of it myself. I wouldn't have put Jay White in that position. I would have used somebody else. I would have actually held off on the Jay White world title shot because I think there's a lot of money to be made there. He's got the skill.
He'll get another one later down the road. I doubt they would just shelve him after one title shot.
Personally, I think Jay White should have taken the belt off of MJF at Full Gear, but
that's another thing I heavily agree with.
You still could have done the Devil storyline and not had the world title.
Well, because remember who the Devil attacked first? Jay White.
Exactly.
You could have done that storyline where it's like the Undisputed Kingdom doesn't want to beat MJF; they want to beat Jay White.
Exactly.
Now, that being said, Rollins, I hate to cut you off here, but I think Jay White, I absolutely disagree with you on the Jay White run. It has been successful. Let's look at some of the accolades he's gotten since coming into AEW. He headlined the best tag team match of 2023 with his buddy Juice Robinson against FTR. He got a world title shot in his first year in the company. He was a finalist in the Gold League of the Continental Classic. And he's a current ROH 6-man tag champion. How is none of that considered successful?
That part is true. I'll give you that. But think about how he came into AEW. He came into AEW during this Juice Robinson, Ricky Starks thing. I still don't know what the hell all that was, but it was like Jay White didn't debut in some high profile feud or whatever. He came in and feuded with Ricky Starks, and we know how AEW and Tony Khan feels about Ricky Starks. I'm not going to get into all of that. And then
Red card.
They
Yeah.
love him and gave him a job and then put a world championship on him. Yeah, he's having such a bad time right now.
Right.
But C-Boss, you're right. Ricky Starks is a mid-card guy. Jay White is not that. So, like,
Sure.
that's what more of what I'm saying. Like, since he's come into AEW, yes, he's done all the things you mentioned. I get that, and I agree with you. But it's like he hasn't been able to put himself in a position to where, other than the MJF story, which again, like one of you said, I forget who it was a catalyst into the Adam Cole stuff. We haven't seen Jay White in that high-profile singles feud that we know he can work. It's all been Bullet Club Gold stuff, which
That's exactly why Jay White was perfect to bring the Bullet Club into AEW. He can do single stuff, yes, but he can also work within a faction.
Yeah, let me get in on this. So Jay White, this is very reminiscent of Jay White's beginnings within New Japan. With a TV audience, you cannot immediately just thrust a guy to the top. No matter how much we might know about them, the general audience is not going to know as much as us fellow marks do. Especially
granted, I'm not as familiar with Jay White as like the New Japan people, but even I do know a good amount.
So C-Boss, myself, and Shane specifically had a vast more amount of knowledge on Jay White than the common AEW fan did.
Yep.
And he started off originally in ROH. That was where he was. He went over there at the early part of his career, then went back to New Japan and got slowly pushed up the card. He won the US title over there whenever that was a thing. So it's just Tony Khan slowly introducing the audience to Jay White. I don't have an issue with it. Like it got talked about, he was in the best tag team match in all of wrestling last year, and by far, there's no dispute that was the best tag match of last year because it was.
FTR?
Yes.
Yeah, FTR
perfect.
versus Bullet Club Gold.
Oh, hell yeah.
It was beautiful. Now, I will agree. He needs to be on Dynamite more because if you just keep him on Collision, you're going to eliminate about half of your audience, unfortunately. Because it shows in the ratings about half the audience does not carry over to Collision and watch what's going on. So I don't think Jay White's been wasted. I do think eventually he will be AEW World Champion. I also think, unfortunately, he's probably going to get a AEW World Championship run before Will Ospreay. And I think Ospreay will take the belt off of Jay White whenever the time does come.
Ooh.
Yeah, so while we're on the topic of Ospreay, we could pivot a little bit, and if we want to wrap Jay White back in, I do want to note, yes, I am the residential Bullet Club historian here in this community, so talking about Jay White always gets me really spicy. I'm always going to stand by wherever he lands in any promotion. He should be a top talent. And I actually have to agree with you as well, Caleb. Easing him into AEW program was a necessity because unfortunately for Rollins, he didn't get the crash course to Jay White and what he can bring to the table, like me, you, and C-Boss. So C-Boss with his Bullet Club apparel collection over yonder. We could pivot over to Ospreay now. Just to wrap up the AEW stuff for this pod, it's been confirmed that we're going to see Will Ospreay as early integrated into AEW programming as early as February next week.
Mm-hmm.
Where does he land and what direction does he head in? Baby, listen, before you guys start going off about world championships and Will Ospreay, we know he's going to get there. It's going to happen. He's going to hold a world championship in every promotion he graces. That's
It's
a
like Chris
thing.
Jericho.
Just like Creed, he's the new Jericho minus the mouthpiece, which is fine. My Osprey Rushmore could just be 4 different Osprey haircuts as well.
So
So
yeah.
um,
You
I
gotta
think
ease him in like Jay White.
yeah, a lot more people have had eyes on Osprey than Jay White. That's a
That is
fair
true.
statement.
That is
With
very true.
with his presence in Ring of Honor, New Japan, TNA, his constantly touring of the Indies, the BWA, NWA, everyone's had him. Supervillain has had him. Like everybody has had Osprey. I
Don't
think
forget, he's been on AEW pay-per-views before too, so the AEW audience is familiar with him.
he was in an AEW main storyline twice where he was still working Japan and on AEW TV every Wednesday for 2 months twice. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw this out here, and I know that if anywhere else on the internet I would get shamed for even implying that this would be important to see, but I think that the most tangible direction to head Osprey in immediately would be to drop the international title off of Orange Cassidy. First of all, their Forbidden Door match was my match of 2022. For those who are, stands of what Cassidy does, he is fantastic. He's starting to age out a little bit, but I think they should put a lid on their little feud before Orange is, getting too old to stick his hands in his pants without nursing assistance. Um, and then Osprey's going to have the opportunity throughout the next 2 years of his contract to wrestle whoever and however he wants to. Orange, no one, every time I say it, this dude's almost 40 years old. 40 F40. And I mean, it's cool that he still looks like a 19-year-old boy, but his better days, it's starting to become more evident that his better days are behind him. So, plus he's the Roman Reigns of the International AEW Championship. I'm so sick of seeing him hold that damn thing.
Amen.
Except for unlike Roman Reigns, Orange Cassidy will actually show up on weekly television.
Yeah, in squash matches, feud matches, pointless faction matches, Rampage and and Rampage, and once a month on ROH.
I'd rather have that than a world champion just refusing to show up on television.
Yep, and he's defending his title on Collision Saturday night. But here's the thing: is Osprey has already said he wants to have a match at Revolution. And I don't think you can just stick him into the Roderick Strong, Orange Cassidy stuff unless you want to make that into a triple threat match. But I feel like the better route to go is to give Osprey some type of singles feud where he can just do his stuff and,
give him that Ricky Starks rub that worked well for Jay White.
Bruv, listen.
You get what I mean, though?
I absolutely get what you mean.
You could stick Osprey anywhere. He could walk into the Dynamite next week, grab a live mic and go, bruv, I'm an international superstar. Why wouldn't I go after the international championship, bruv? Pipe down.
And then have Roderick Strong come on, Osprey.
Yeah. I mean, it could happen. Lest you guys forget, Roderick Strong is a brutal performer. He is one of the top in-ring guys that AEW has right now. Go look at his backlog. Just because he's not recognized doesn't mean he's not. It's like he's the speedball Mike Bailey of AEW. He's capable of putting on bangers. And that Darby Allin match that we saw live at Collision was a barn burner.
Yep.
People.
As a longtime NXT fan, I am very familiar with Roderick Strong. At least one part of Roderick Strong's career, the part where he was the only member of the Undisputed Era that people didn't really care for. Sadly.
From what you're suggesting, you think there could be 2 triple threat matches at Revolution?
What I'm suggesting, or what C-Boss is suggesting?
It sounds like what both of you are kind of suggesting.
I'm not saying. I didn't say have him go after the international, go immediately for the international title. Yes,
then
he should be the one to dethrone Orange Cassidy, but I don't think that it should be. I think you can do the Roderick Strong match first, or maybe have a qualifying match between Osprey and Roderick Strong and have Osprey win that, and then you can have the Orange Cassidy Will Ospreay match at Revolution. But that would do nothing for Roderick Strong.
Boss, I'm going to make a comment and pivot over to Wolf. The elimination matches are the new interim titles for AEW programming. Get the hell off of it. I mean this respectfully, but we need to just have more matches that have substance to both in-ring work and storytelling. These little eliminations, we know who's going to win. It's more predictable than listening to Kelson shame Rollins on a weekly basis. You know, it is what it is. And there's my AEW Fan Hub jab for the day, brought to you by So What's the Catch and the Cheap Heat Champions. Wolf, you got thoughts on this one, man?
I do. I agree with Rollins. I don't think they're going to. Orange Cassidy Will Ospreay is going to happen, but it's going to happen after this program with Roderick Strong, and Roderick Strong is the man. Going back to Ospreay, I could see him his first. It just makes sense. I think you pair him against Moxley. Like Moxley's not tied up to anybody right now. You got to have another marquee match for Revolution, and I think Ospreay Moxley have history together, right? So. Why not
most recently
jump right into it?
And Moxley's okay taking the loss. He's like, you can still have a banger match, and Moxley takes the match, or takes the loss, I should say. So what? He'll come out the next week on Dynamite and be like, hey, I'm still John Moxley. Anybody want to step
John Moxley, I'm crazy, and I'll fight literally anyone. And looks at a little girl in the crowd, even her.
You know, the funny thing about Moxley is every time we say it's time for him to go on vacation and he's taken a week off from programming, he's either working the indies or fucking someone up in Japan.
Moxley's vacation is a death match on the indies. That's what Moxley's vacation.
He's headed over to CZN. He's headed over to GCW to fight Nick Gage.
He's gonna go fight another disqualification match against El Desperado in New Japan.
Ugh.
So guys, I have two ideas for Ospreay's first feud. One of them, it's likely going to bring out a groan from all of you, but the story is already well established, and that's Chris Jericho.
I don't mind it.
Oh, that match was shit.
That was the best match Jericho has put on in his AEW time. Of course, that heavily goes towards it being an Ospreay match. I could very well see that happening, especially with the association of Jericho and Callis and all that stuff, and how most recently Ospreay was paired with Callis within AEW. Do I think that's necessary? Absolutely not. Do I think that's a direction TK could go? 100%, because he could bring in Ospreay as a heel and have him face Chris Jericho. My other direction would be Bryan Danielson. You want to really start Ospreay off hot. Have him take down the guy known as,
the best tactical wrestler in the world.
Exactly. Just have him dismantle Danielson. Just immediately set the tone.
How those two have never actually had a match and since Danielson got into AEW is beyond me.
I don't know. Looks like we lost Wolf.
Hey, this just in. Who did we lose?
We lost Wolf.
We lost Wolf, but he gave us some news.
He sure as fuck did. This just in, headed to the Impact Zone, we have Mustafa Ali.
Oh, yes.
TNA is heating up, boys.
Yeah.
Oh, TNA is on fire.
We didn't get to talk about TNA today, and Wolf is diving back in. Hold on, it's saying Wolf device is not connected. There we go, got him. He's back, busting back into the cage door. We have a wild wolf has appeared.
We tagged him back in.
We got it. So hey, we just dug into the Mustafa Ali. Have they confirmed that he's signed with TNA, or is he working one-offs? I thought.
I think it's a one-off. Yeah. I'm sorry, I bailed out because I accidentally closed down the browser. I was looking at this on my phones. Yeah, no, I think it's a one-off, Shane.
Yeah, even as a one-off, I mean, like the implications for matches are huge. I'm curious to see. I mean, he could be testing the waters of TNA. There are a lot of bigger talents that are wrapping themselves into TNA. When the implications of AJ Styles not re-signing with WWE this year, Drew McIntyre not signing after WrestleMania and heading back to TNA is incredibly probable. And the working relationship TNA currently has with Japan, they have titles in Japan right now, correct? Does Ace and what's his face still have the tag titles?
Ace Bay Club still has the titles.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, like with those being Japan Bull Club members, there's a lot of cross promotional stuff like in the wings. So I think the TNA for Ali right now would be an incredibly wise direction to head in. So
All I know is I would highly recommend watching tonight's episode of TNA if you can, because we had the Rainmaker team up with the Motor City Machine Guns against Moose, Brian Myers, and I can't confirm who the last person was on the opposite team, but just those.
was it Macklin?
Moose, I believe, yes, Macklin, I believe so.
Okay.
Moose alone is probably the most underrated guy in all of wrestling.
Yeah, let's talk about Moose for 30 seconds. Moose, old school jobber for WWE. He ROH champion. The dude's
Wait,
been
who is he in WWE?
He had an on-screen. He's worked security a couple times. He's
Oh.
had on-screen. For all we know, Moose is so old. Moose is in his like mid-40s. He could have been doing. He's old enough.
Moose is 40 years old right now.
Yeah, he could have been doink at least once.
Oh, wait. Probably during that Kings versus Clowns match at Survivor Series.
Jesus Christ. Moose has held gold in a couple prominent organizations. So I mean, it's
currently is the TNA World Champion.
And the sixth man in the match was Eddie Edwards, actually.
Oh, great!
Wow!
I'll be tuning in as soon as this is over. Yeah,
I'm
RIP.
surprised it wasn't Nick Nemeth because.
No, he's going after Moose, not wanting to team up with Moose.
Yeah.
No, I know, but Steve Macklin and Nick Nemeth had a pretty good promo battle last week on TNA, so I thought Nick Nemeth might be on the opposite side so he could go after both Moose and Macklin.
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
No, because the team on the other side was the Motor City Machine Guns and Kazuchika Okada.
Well, and on just to add to it, while we're on Nick Nemeth, he faced off one-on-one with Zachary Wentz. So those two matches alone, if you're not sold on TNA, go watch those two matches, then get back with me. That's all I got to say on that.
We'll be talking.
No, I've been sold on TNA for a long time. TNA was my promotion of choice as a kid.
The only reason I couldn't watch TNA tonight was because I had other stuff going on, and I set up my DVR to record LSU versus South Carolina in women's college basketball because it was number 1 against number 9 in the AP top 10. So I was very interested in that, as well as Celtics Heat. So.
What's up? Okay. Well, you listen, we're going to talk TNA next week if we make the Tuesday or Wednesday podcast. I kind of want to dig into what they've been doing with their program and some of the matches they've been putting on. But boys, we're cusping an hour. It's time to wrap this joint up. Typically, we do the count out, and I did actually have something I want to discuss with the count out, but it could wait till next week. Next week, I did want to discuss how obvious it looks that they're passing the tag titles over to Sting and Darby and then having them lifted off of Sting and Darby at Revolution by the Bucks. That I haven't seen a more evident title transition in the history of AEW. But we're going to wrap up with some AFC NFC championship predictions. Everyone here on the channel is a pretty big football fan, and we thought it'd be fun to kind of mix things up for the end of the show. So, lots of football fans. I got the Ravens and Lions battle for the underdogs. Sorry, Caleb. I just I
The
can't.
Chiefs are the underdogs.
No, they're not.
No, they're
Three and a
not.
half point. They're 3.5-point dogs, boys.
I don't give a fuck about that. The Baltimore Ravens are the underdogs.
Yeah.
The
Because
Ravens are sending Taylor Swift home.
Fuck the
Hey,
Ravens.
I don't
No, fuck the Ravens, but fuck Taylor Swift more.
see.
Rollins.
Okay, here
That's
we
Travis Kelsey's job.
I
Hush,
don't.
hush.
Okay, I'm as big of a Cleveland Browns fan as anybody. That's how I built my goddamn YouTube channel. 557 subscribers. Thank you very much.
Shut the fuck up.
Hey,
With love.
He's
with
marketing
you're
love.
not
for
allowed to
himself.
plug your
Good
channel.
Lord.
Nerd.
Go subscribe to Unger to the Max if you haven't done
Shut
that.
up.
Oh, here we go.
But I am picking the Ravens, and I would way prefer the Ravens in this case. I'm so tired of seeing Patrick Mahomes. He is way too fucking cocky. He is in just about every other commercial on TV, and I am sick and tired of it. And most importantly, Caleb, you know this, and everybody else knows this. The Kansas City Chiefs are the referee darlings.
That is a lie. That is
All
a
right.
I agree.
lie.
We're gonna pass it off to Wolf. Caleb, you'll have your chance to cuss us all out for your Chiefs fandom. And
I'll be short. I'm just going Kansas City and Detroit. I think that's a game I would want to watch, and I want to see Detroit win the Super Bowl.
Oh,
In my
by the way,
lifetime.
I'm picking San Francisco for my NFC pick. I'm going with the Super Bowl logo conspiracy theory.
Nerd.
fucking nerd.
All right, C-Boss, get your shots in.
Oh, you want me to go first? All right. I'm actually picking Ravens Lions because A, it's a matchup I'd want to see. B, if I'm gonna root for anyone in my within the AFC North, it's the team that used to be my team.
Traitor. Fucking traitor.
Fuck Art Modell.
Fuck
but
yeah. Fuck Art Modell.
I'm a huge Lamar Jackson guy.
I love Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson.
He is one of the hardest quarterbacks in the NFL to hate. And
Unless you're watching him in the playoffs for like 3 years in a row.
And wait, just to add on, C-Bus, how cool would it be? I know your feelings about Michigan, but to see Jim Harbaugh win the national championship and then to see his brother go on to win the Super Bowl. Personally, I think that would be so cool.
fuck Michigan, fuck the Ravens, fuck the Harbaughs, but go Lamar Jackson.
All right.
All right.
Bring us home.
All
Caleb.
right, boys.
All right, let's hear it
So-
from our resident Kansas City Chiefs fan.
All right, so
Fuck the
you
Chiefs.
say Patrick Mahomes is cocky. I'm sure you called Tom Brady cocky too, but there's a reason he's cocky. Because he backs that shit up on the field. He goes out there, he balls out every single game. And
gets bailed out by the goddamn refs.
he does
How
not.
how many wins does he have against resident Home Alone kid Joe Burrow?
One.
Home Alone kid is stuck at home right now with a broken wrist, right? I think that's what it is. Anyways. The Chiefs are going to win. It's going to be 27-23. I'll give the Ravens credit. They've had a good season. But playoff Lamar will make his scheduled appearance, boys.
No, he won't.
The game will come down to about 50 seconds left. The Ravens will get a chance to go down the field, and Lamar Jackson will throw a pick to Trent McDuffie, and the game will end that way. That is my prediction on that end. On the other side, as much as I want to pick the 49ers, every part of me is telling me the Lions are going to win. So I have the Lions winning, and I have the season ending just as it started with Kansas City facing Detroit. But this time, they'll have Travis Kelsey and Chris Jones both playing, and it will be a massacre. Kansas City will win the championship again. Travis Kelsey will retire, propose to Taylor Swift at midfield, and they will go out in a blaze of glory, farting on your hopes and dreams. Fuck
That
you all
sounds so.
Kansas
That
City
sounds.
haters.
That sounds so scripted. I think Triple H just sent you a contract to be a writer.
No, he sent him a cease and desist because he thought of the idea himself. Gentlemen, I appreciate your predictions. Look, for those of for the handful of you guys that will listen to this or tune into the channel or tune into the live, thank you very much for joining us this evening. We are the Cheap Heat Champions, and we are presented by So What's the Catch on YouTube. You can find us on our Discord. The links are in the bio. Soon to be on Twitch, YouTube Live, Blue Sky as well, possibly Twitter, if I could tolerate being on that platform for any more than 15 minutes in the day. We're going to be piloting a couple roundtables coming into the weeks for those of you that haven't seen us on any channels. They're one-off pods where we talk about bigger things happening behind the scenes in pro wrestling. They are shorter panels with larger lives. So tune in. And of course, thank you again to everyone that showed up. Everybody have a good rest of their evening.
Bullet Club for life.
Fuck
Too
the
sweet.
Good night, everybody.